and welcome to my favorite game ever made so far, obviously. But last time we talked about Monster Hunter Wilds because that was the most recent game that I finished. And I think this is going to be the only game that I look back on my list and I talk about just because obviously this is my favorite game that I've played since I've done my little like challenge to myself of not having unfinished games. I adore this game. The Usually for some reason it's a problem, and why I made the rule for me was I got burnt out on games. I go a little too hard on it and then just get to the point where like, man, I really don't want to play this anymore. It's kind of too much. I never had that in this game except the very end, the final mission. Now, there's going to be spoilers in this video, obviously, because this is how I'm talking about it. But till the very end with the Rattlers and Ellie, that is the only point that I was like, ugh. Now, the final like cutscene and finding Abby and everything, we'll get to that as well. Phenomenal, absolutely incredible. But I just like the whole Rattlers thing. I was like, I kind of want this to wrap up. But talking about The Last of Us Part 2, um, throughout the entire game, the game's visuals, as you can see right now, are just absolutely gorgeous. The landscapes and the way that just the game looks and feels and sounds, like if I just walk around, I wonder if I can get it though. Okay, maybe I can't. Maybe I just there you go. There's a little like scraping of the feet. This is such a like surreal game. The visuals are great. The sound design, I love sound design ever since a couple years ago, just kind of appreciating how like movies and games sound. This game is so good with it, with the steps, walking around, and like you some even that little creaking, like just ambience and the wind blowing like through the trees and through the landscape. You can hear when you're in Seattle on like the buildings and everything, you can hear the buildings moving. And when it's raining, you can hear when it's raining, like the where the water's dripping off to, and you can hear the birds chirping, and like you can hear other people's footsteps, and you can hear their feet scraping along, and it's just I adore it. It's such a great experience to have and be able to just go through everything with such high attention to detail and such high like audio. It made the experience so much better just to be able to live through it with that. The way this game makes me feel, the I don't know what it was before I played this game, but I've never really like felt the emotions, I guess. I don't know if that makes me weird, but some games I didn't really feel like the emotion of what was going on. It was kind of just I was playing the game and playing it through. The Last of Us did great with making me feel guilt and feel bad. One major point that I always bring up when I'm talking to my friends about this is there's a point where Ellie and Dina make it to the theater, and Dina tells Ellie why she's been sick and like puking, and she says that she's pregnant, and Ellie calls her a it's not a hindrance, I don't think, but it's something like that. I forgot what the word is for nuisance, maybe. Um, but when she said that, I physically myself outside, like as the person sitting playing the game, I felt the impact of what I said. Like you can see in the cutscene, Ellie kind of steps back afterwards, and I was also like, oh, like that. I just said that to someone that Ellie really cares about, and like I was supposed to go and clear the theater to make sure that nothing was going on, but I paced for a second because I felt like I said that to my significant other. It was such a like horrible feeling of like guilt that I said those things, but the emotion of like Abby's dad being killed, that we figure out Joel did it, and then Abby's emotions of her figuring out and crying, and when Joel died at the beginning of the game, Ellie crying, and then the audio being cut out and muffled because she's so distraught at what just happened in front of her. And the with the NPCs, like people that you're killing, it's crazy because they're like talking like actual conversations. They're having conversations with each other saying, "Oh, I don't want to go on this patrol," or "Oh, I don't want to like do these things." And it's really incredible to hear like they're normal it's like they're normal people. And if you have say like Jimmy and Sarah are together and you kill Sarah first, Jimmy calls out to Sarah to see if she's okay. And then when he doesn't hear back, he gets mad at you, at the player, whether it's Abby or Ellie. And it's just so the realism in this game is so incredible to just have so much. I've said this before in this video, attention to detail, and have so many things that go on that I love, and it's just like real people, it's real scenarios. This is like one of those games that's not like sci-fi or anything. I really like how grounded it is. It's like this could happen in real life. That is one of my favorite things about just this game in general. Honestly, this whole series, the first game and the second game, I don't think I'm going to talk about the first game unless if I replay the PS5 version because I've played that on the PS4 remastered and I really enjoyed that game. It's one of my favorite games as well. But the second game just I don't know, it took another step up in the department of my top 10 most favorite games. Um Next, we can talk about the killing off Joel at the beginning of the game. That was another one of those things where like I felt the heaviness of the thing that happened. It took me, I will admit, it was almost like Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter, I almost didn't buy it. This, it took me a couple of tries to get past the first open world part. For some reason, the open world like it's just that one section. I just couldn't get past it. And I don't know what it was, but it took me a couple tries to get past it, and I'm so glad I did. I don't think there was really anything wrong. It was just sometimes hard to navigate, and you can get lost easily. But the killing off Joel idea, I oof, man, thinking about it now, it was tough to watch every time I restarted this game to try and play it. And like even on my final playthrough, when I actually finished the game, it's just horrible to watch because you spent the entire first game being Joel and like building up to Ellie, and now just kind of stripping that away is it's a major thing. It was definitely it was definitely a choice. I agree with the choice because that kind of set the whole fire for the circle of revenge, kind of. That's pretty much what this game is. It's just trying to get revenge on each other, whether it's Ellie trying to kill Abby or Ellie killing all the people who killed Joel, and then Abby wanting to kill her for that, and then it's a whole circle of all of that. So yeah, that was I don't know, man. That was just such a pivotal it's a pivotal moment for Ellie, and it's a pivotal moment in the story to know that if we get Neil Druckmann, I think his name was, he talked about we might get a part 3, but then he said don't bet on it. But if we do, it's crazy to think that we still won't have, he can't come back. And like this entire second game, we don't have Joel. We just have him throughout flashbacks and cutscenes, and then just one of the final cutscenes of you talking. That was days before Joel died, and it was finally her being like, don't know if I will be able to, but I want to forgive you for what Joel did at the end of the first game, which was Joel saved Ellie because Ellie was gonna die if they had the cure and all that. If you're watching this video, you should know the premise of the first game because this is the second game. So hopefully I didn't just spoil what was going on in the first one. But next we will talk about the characters. God, I love the characters. Ah! I love them. I love them. I love them. I love them. The characters, I think I enjoy all of them, whether it was like Nora on Abby's side with like Abby's point of view and her whole group of people, or it was Ellie with like Dina and Jesse and Tommy and Joel and like all those people on her side. I enjoy the way that all the characters kind of one interact with each other because they're always like kind of poking fun at each other. That's my dog. Don't mind Danny. Um, the way they like kind of poke fun at each other and they act like actual friends and they're friendly towards each other and they're all trying to just do the same thing and survive and just trying to stay alive and be able to live through this fucking horrific world. Um, the way that they all are just you can tell they're all different. There's no like two characters that are like, oh, these are just like, oh, these are just NPCs that are just the same and just kind of say random things. These are, at least all of our characters are fleshed out like people. They live their own lives within the game. They have relationships of their own. They have people who they're talking to. They have all of those things that are important to these people and important to like what's going on within the story and within the characters of the game. And then we can also talk about the death of a lot of major characters in this game. There's Joel, there's Abby's pretty much entire friend group. There's the death of, I already said Joel. Who is it? Jesse. Jesse dies. Jesse's death was out of nowhere. I lost my mind at that one. We can kind of go in order. I don't remember all of Abby's friends' name, which is awful of me. But you have Manny. Manny also died. Manny was one of my favorite characters. Each, if you look at it as well, both of them, both Abby and Ellie are two sides of the same coin. They both have their friends. They've both had their friends killed and or father figures killed by one another or by like somebody of their group. So that's where, like I talked about earlier, where the circle of revenge comes in. Because the reason that these people are dying is because someone else did it first. The beginning of the revenge circle was Joel at the end of the first game killing Abby's dad, who was the doctor that he shot. Then Abby kills Joel at the beginning of this game. And then Ellie goes through killing all of Abby's friends. First with Nora, or maybe it was no. I think it was first. It was the guy in the hat with the scar on his face. I'm sorry. I don't remember the names. I know I say this is my favorite game. I'm super bad with names, but it's that guy. Then it's Nora. And then you have Mel, who's pregnant. You have Owen, who Abby used to date, and then you have Manny, who was killed by Tommy, which was incredible. I didn't piece it together, and I should have. But there's this scene with Abby and Abby and Manny, and they're facing a sniper, and they're like, "Oh yeah, he's really good." And I forgot there was a flashback right before that that was Tommy showing Ellie how to use like a sniper rifle, and him being really good at it. So I never pieced it together until the final moment where well, there was a point where Manny gets shot in the face and dies. That's a little horrific, but it's what happens. And then Abby gets to a doorway and Tommy attacks her. And I'm like, I get a little confused because you kind of see the edge of him for a second. You're like, is that Tommy? And then you realize it was Tommy. And it's just such a crazy thing. That's why I think I want to replay this game as well. But it's such a crazy thing that happens is there's those little touches between like their stories crossing paths again throughout the entire game. And adding on to the characters, I forgot about Yara and Lev. Oh my goodness, I adore Yara and Lev. Um, Yara is the sister of Lev, and Lev was a transgender character. She was born um a woman and then she shaved her head. She's part of a group called the Seraphites, and she shaved her head and then was outcasted for that. So then Abby gets taken by the Seraphites and almost killed, but Yara and Lev save her. And then a little later on, Yara gets her arm smashed by a hammer. So Abby like leaves him in a trailer park and's like, okay, I'm done helping these people. I'm gonna go back to I'm gonna go back to Owen at the aquarium, which is where we're at right now. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. But she does that, and then she has a bad dream, and her conscience isn't cleared, so she goes back for Yara and Lev, and then just the way that Abby and Lev interact, I love it. It's kind of a big sister, little brother kind of thing. It's really really fun to see them kind of poke fun at each other and kind of make fun of each other of like Lev asking Abby about Owen when they're way up high and Abby's afraid of heights. And she's kind of like, "Oh my God, now!" Like those are fun little jabs at each other. And then Yara dies to Isaac. I didn't talk about Isaac either. We're just looping back to characters. Isaac is the leader of the WLF who Abby was a part of. Um, I love Isaac too. He's a ruthless leader. Love him is a little bit of an overstatement, but I like his character. He's a kind of a tough, rugged. He will do anything to keep like the WLF and him okay. And you see when we first get introduced to him, he's torturing a Seraphite. Um, and it's a grueling kind of thing. We don't see him doing it, but we kind of see the aftermath of the Seraphite sitting in the chair. Um, and that was a very rough thing to watch as well. But Yara dies to Isaac when we head back because Lev ran off to go try to convince his his mother to come with them because she wasn't safe at the island. But that didn't work out. And then the WLF planned an attack on that same night. So they came and they they ruined the Seraphites island. And it's a horrible thing, but the visuals, oh, I just hit my headset. I'm so sorry. The visuals are phenomenal with the fire and the smoke and the sparks, and like it was also raining there at that point, so you have that as well. It's just going back to the sounds of like everyone trying to fight for the WLF trying to fight to take out their threat and the Seraphites trying to fight to like keep their home there. It's it's very fascinating to kind of hear what was going on and what was happening between them. And just the conflict between the WLF and the Seraphites that comes up throughout the entire game when you're as Abby. You kind of always hear about the conflict. And when you're Ellie, when you're first introduced, I will say this, I got scared shitless because you're walking through a forest, you're in Seattle and you're walking through a forest and you hear a whistle. So you're like, "Oh, what's that?" And then a second later you're hit with an arrow right in the shoulder and it's the loudest thing. It scared the living daylights out of me because you hear a whistle and you kind of perk up. You're like, "What's that?" And you get hit, and then it's just people whistling, and you don't know what they are yet because they think you're a wolf, but you're Abby. You're not. But that was horrifying, just because it was out of nowhere. It was kind of a calm moment after you fought some WLF as Ellie. You're kind of um, just wandering for a bit. It's quiet, and then that happens. Um, but then you have Abby. Abby is a WLF, and then later on she wants Owen wants to go find the Fireflies again because Abby's entire friend group were Fireflies before the WLF, before Joel slaughtered all of them in the hospital. They were Fireflies, and then they became WLF, and then Abby turns because Owen went AWOL because Owen uh, saw a Seraphite old man and he couldn't kill him. He had grief about it. And then so he went AWOL and he ran away from the WLF to this aquarium, which this was like his safe place, whether it was with um Mel or with Abby. This was kind of where he likes to sorry, or no, we're talking about Owen. He likes to hang out, and this was like his spot. Going back to character deaths, I apologize. The way my head works is I get all over the place, and I don't have a linear point of thought. I did a little better than the Monster Hunter video. I have actual like bullet points to go over. Besides the point. Besides the point. But going back to Mel, another point with the emotion is Mel was pregnant that we figured out, and then Abby or Ellie didn't know that. So Ellie finds the aquarium because she's still on not a suicide run, but a revenge run to kill Abby, who I am right now. Um, but the you kill Mel and you kill Owen in the aquarium, and you like Owen mutters that Mel was pregnant, and Abby sees that she was, and she kind of has a panic attack and loses her mind. Not loses her mind, but like she throws up and she has a panic attack laying on the floor. And then what's really cool within the little cutscene as well right afterwards is you hear Tommy and Jesse show up to come bring her home, obviously, because because Jesse found Tommy. But if you listen and you hear Tommy yelling at Ellie, like Ellie, Ellie, it's Joel's voice that you hear, not Tommy's voice. So that was a cool little detail that Ellie wanted it to be Joel, not Tommy, you know? But talking about the cutscenes, ooh, doggy. I love you'll hear that about literally everything in this game. I just love it. The cutscenes are so visually appealing. It's 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 like you're watching a movie. Like you're watching just like a really good animated movie, I guess. It's but it's so lifelike. There's like you have broken bones, it's not like, oh, I can repair this in a second with a spray or something. It's like grounded. The cutscenes, everything that happens could happen in real life. Everything that the cutscenes like the facial expressions that they have. You can see in Abby as I've been talking as well, like her cracking her fingers, or Ellie when she goes by herself in Seattle. She's like, okay, I got this. Like, and then she looks up. She's like, okay, I got to go to this street, and she kind of mutters to herself. It's a human thing. Like she does these things like people normally do these things. Just with like within the cutscenes, you can see facial expressions. You could see expressions. Like if they're disappointed, their shoulders drop, or if they're tense, you can see them like their eyebrows kind of. I don't know how to explain this. Get like more tense, and they get like I get the people get more tense for lack of a better word. But see, she just cracks her knuckles like that's a normal thing. She adjusts her bag. Ellie adjusts her bag, and the emotion of some cutscenes, like I said before, at the end of the game, where Ellie's like, I don't think I can forgive you, but I want to. You can hear Joel getting choked up. You can hear it in his breathing. You can hear his voice. You can see his face. Tears in this game are super, super well done as well. And like just the visuals of the cutscenes and just the areas are so phenomenal. Like the areas of Seattle is such an incredible like sight to see in the first game, and it is as well. Like buildings toppled over and you have streets washed away, and you could see how the environment kind of took over the landscape. And this aquarium, now we can talk about it. This aquarium, we can't go in it, which is sad because we are in the like wave game mode. This aquarium is my favorite spot ever in this game because I think it's winter outside too. The aquarium in the winter, like he has all these Christmas lights up. Owen does, and it's such just a vibe, if that makes sense. It's such like it's so cozy that it is just like it seems like a home. Like it's empty, but it's Owen and Mel, or it's Owen and Abby. There's two people always here, and I just love aquariums. I that's one of my favorite things is just go to aquariums and just walk around and look at all the different fish. Seeing that this is like an abandoned aquarium, dude, it was literally made for me. It was incredible. Um, but yeah, that and the theater as well for Ellie. I really like the environment of the theater as well. It's a calm place. Here it's a little more echoey because there's not as much like carpets or anything. But the theater, you have like the chairs and you have the carpet until you get to the stage, and you can kind of feel that it's warmer and it's like more, not really a word, but homey, you know? It's more of a place like, yes, this is the resting spot that we come back to. And then Abby ruins that by showing up and shooting and killing Jesse and mortally wounding Tommy. Oh man, there's a lot of things. At the end of the game, there's a lot of things that change. Abby loses her entire friend group. Ellie loses Dina, and Dina was pregnant. But Dina had the kid, but Abby loses those two because she left to go kill Abby again. And then at the end of the game, she never did it. And then Tommy is mortally wounded from Abby coming to the theater and shooting him. He can't use his eye. He has minimal movement in his leg, and his wife left him. I can't think of her name. I'm sorry, but she left him because he left. I think it's because he left to go kill Abby as well, and she was not, and she wanted like space from him. I think we all kind of know that it's over, which is sad because they were a really cute couple. But the next thing I want to talk about is the gameplay. The gameplay was super super nice in this game. They added a dodge mechanic, so it made it a little better. I don't remember if they put that in the PS5 version of the first game now. But the first game you didn't really have a dodge, but this game you have a dodge. Sometimes it can be janky, and it's kind of hard to get around. and I can't admit it's a little rough to navigate that sometimes, and sometimes the camera doesn't want to cooperate. But other than that, I enjoyed the running around. I enjoyed the way that you climb on things, the way that you aim your gun, or the way that people can hear you if you kick a bottle. They ask huh, what was that? And just the nothing other than what I mentioned really felt janky and bad. Shooting was super fun. The meleeing was super fun. It was super nice as Abby Sula did. But the difference between the first game and the second game for Ellie is you had to create shivs for Joel in the first game. The second game, Ellie has her knife, so you can take care of clickers super quick, and that is super super enjoyable to do because it was really really annoying to have to kind of manage shivs and do all that. And then the final thing I want to talk about, one of my favorite things in this game, the music. The music. Gustavo did phenomenal with the music. I love this is a weird thing to kind of put this in, but I love the aggressiveness of I think it's a banjo, but it could be like a type of banjo. But I love the aggressiveness of the plucks of the strings, and just the amount of different songs that they have. I wish it was playing songs in this, but it doesn't. But when you're in trouble, it plays a different song. When you're in a touching cutscene, it's slower. And then you have at one point at the beginning of the game, which is one of my favorite parts of the game, is Joel gifts Ellie a guitar, which that guitar is kind of a thing the rest of the game. It's one of the only things that Ellie could grasp to of Joel, and then Abby bites off I think three of her fingers or two of her fingers, and she can't play guitar efficiently anymore. And that was kind of oh, that was the last thing of Joel that Ellie had, and now it's ruined. But besides that, at the beginning of the game, Ellie plays one chord. I don't know if that's what it's called, but plucks a string once, and then it fades into actual music into a black screen and into Ellie waking up 3 years later from that cutscene. Oh, I love it. I love that. That is one of my favorite parts of the game. It's such a small little thing, but the way it transitions from her playing it to just background music is so incredible. And just one of the many things that just pile on to me loving this game. I personally, like I said in the last video, I have my notes of the games that I play, and I rank them 1 out of 10. And The Last of Us is the only 10 out of 10 game so far. I believe there will be more to come, but this is the only 10 out of 10 game just because I didn't get the burnout at the end. I didn't get I didn't have any points where I was like, damn, I just want to get off the game. Every time I got off, I was like, oh man, I really want to play the next part. But it was too late at night or something, and I was too tired. There was never a point where I was like, man, I want to just get off. I don't want to do this anymore. And that I hold to a high regard because I have, like I've said, I have a problem of that. And this game just never had that. Never had the issue of, oh snap, I don't want to play the game anymore, and I have to kind of power through playing the game. But ever since I started the challenge to myself, it hasn't really been an issue. I haven't had a game where I'm like, oh man, I really just don't want to play this. But yeah, this game is really really not close to me, but it's special to me just because I enjoyed every second of it, and it was just really enjoyable to play. And I really hope that their next IP, Intergalactic, kind of touches on the same itch. It won't because it's not as grounded, because that's more like sci-fi and space. but I hope that Naughty Dog kind of clutches up for the single player experience again. But yeah, those are my thoughts on The Last of Us Part 2. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to me ramble for a little bit, and I will see you guys in the next game that I finish, which is hopefully Death Stranding. But I don't know yet. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye bye.